Thank you, Quinn. All right, so hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Angel Madero, and I'm excited to share progress on the Eastern Support Regional Connector Project. I'm joined virtually by members of the project team, including Ven Prasad, Scott Hensler, as well as members of the Community Outreach and Public Engagement team, Kathleen Podrasky, Lupita Franco-Painbert, and myself. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge representatives from the Office of Councilmember Peter Ortiz. We're joined by his Chief of Staff, Brisa Rojas. And of course, thanks to everybody for taking the time to join us this evening and stay up to date on this great project.
Hola, gracias a todos por acompañarnos esta tarde. Mi nombre es Ángel Madero y estoy emocionado de compartir el progreso del proyecto del conector regional del East Ridge hasta el BART. Me acompañan hoy miembros del equipo del proyecto, incluyendo el director del proyecto Ven Prasad, el señor Scott Hensler, así como también miembros del equipo del alcance comunitario y de la participación pública, Kathleen Podrasky, Lupita Franco y este servidor. Antes de empezar, quiero darle la bienvenida a los representantes de la oficina del Distrito 5. La representante que nos acompaña es la señora Risa Rojas. Y por supuesto, gracias a todos ustedes por estar hoy con nosotros.
Thưa kính chào quý vị, xin chào mừng quý vị đã tham dự buổi họp ngày hôm nay về cái công trình rất là lớn nối liền East Street to BART. Ngày hôm nay cùng với chúng tôi dự án kết nối khu vực East Street đến BART xây dựng tàu điện nhẹ. Tôi xin cảm ơn Council Member ông Ortiz và quý vị, tất cả quý vị, cũng như là cảm ơn bà Catherine Brodsky, như là Andrew Mariko, người đã trình bày cái dự án ngày hôm nay. Tôi xin chào đón quý vị, tất cả quý vị đã tham gia với cái buổi hội thảo chúng ta ngày hôm nay để biết thêm những chi tiết về một cái công trình vĩ đại này trị giá gần 654 triệu để nối liền cái East Street cho đến cái BART, giúp cho đồng hương cũng như cộng đồng địa phương của chúng ta có phương tiện di chuyển công cộng rất là tiện lợi, cũng như cải thiện cái môi sinh khí hậu và giúp đỡ chúng ta về nhiều mặt trong cái dự án rất là phức tạp và tốn kém này. Cảm ơn tất cả quý vị đã tham gia ngày hôm nay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Next slide, please. So we have live Spanish and Vietnamese interpretation available throughout the meeting. To join either channel, you can click on the circle or the globe icon at the bottom of your screen. You'll select the language you want and be sure to mute the original audio. If you're using a phone, click the More icon, it's the little three dots, and select Language Interpretation. I'll give a moment to our interpreters tonight, and after that, we'll open the language channels.
Tenemos servicios de interpretación en español y en vietnamés durante toda la reunión. Para unirse a cualquiera de los dos canales, seleccione el icono del círculo o del globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla, seleccione su lenguaje preferido y ponga el audio original en silencio. Si estás utilizando un teléfono, seleccione el icono de más que tiene 3 puntos y seleccione interpretación de lenguaje.
Phần thông dịch ngôn ngữ, quý vị có muốn được nghe bằng thông dịch bằng tiếng Việt hay bằng tiếng Tây Ban Nha thì xin quý vị click cái chuột vào cái tên vào cái quả cầu. Còn nếu quý vị nghe qua bằng phone thì quý vị click và trên cái phần more, cái phần vòng tròn bằng tiếng đỏ trên đó để quý vị nghe. Và sau cái phần trình bày ở tổng quát ở đây, chúng tôi sẽ mời quý vị vào trong những cái phòng riêng để có thể nghe thông dịch viên trình bày với quý vị cái dự án vĩ đại này bằng tiếng Việt đồng hương của chúng ta. Xin cảm ơn quý vị rất là nhiều.
Looks like we're ready to go and open the rooms.
Perfect.
And they are open.
Let's just give a quick couple seconds so folks can find their way into the rooms. Okay. All right. So for this evening's meeting, we'll be using the chat feature to field questions or concerns. If you'd like, you can type your question or comment in your language and we'll translate it as needed. Any questions in the chat will get answered towards the end of the presentation during our Q&A portion. Next slide, please. Great. And so briefly, I want to share some guidelines for this evening's meeting that'll help ensure we maintain a healthy and respectful dialogue. This meeting should be enjoyable and informative for everyone present. Please take a second to glance over our meeting agreements and make a commitment to follow a code of conduct that focuses on respect and patience. Thank you. Next slide. Great. So we've got a good amount of information we need to get through this evening. So I'll give you again a quick second to glance over the agenda. There might be some repetitive information here for some of you, but please bear with us because I do see some folks who are seeing this information or joining us for a meeting for the first time. Importantly, we've reserved time for questions towards the end of the agenda. So if you could please hold your thoughts until then, and remember to type, you can also type them in through the chat function. Next slide, please. As a quick summary, the Eastridge to BART Regional Connector is a 2.4-mile extension of light rail. The extension picks up at the existing Alum Rock Station, going above grade through an aerial guideway, over the Capitol Expressway towards the Eastridge Transit Center. The project will create 2 new light rail stations, one at Story Road, which is above grade, and an at-grade station at the Eastridge Transit Center. When the project is complete, VTA riders can board light rail at the Eastridge or Story Road stations and connect directly with BART at the Milpitas station that opened in 2020. All in all, the ride should take about 19 minutes. Next slide, please. This project has been divided and delivered in phases. The first phase, completed in 2015, was the reconstruction of the Eastridge Transit Center and included improvements such as new bus shelters and amenities that support bus rapid transit. The second phase, which was completed in 2021, addressed pedestrian access and improved safety along the expressway between Quimby Road and Capitol Avenue by creating new sidewalks, installing street and pedestrian lighting, as well as landscaping. Next slide, please. Great. So why are we building this? The project carries with it key project benefits that'll serve the residents of East San Jose, such as regional connectivity to BART, designed to enhance residents' connections to jobs, education, and recreation throughout the region, as well as improvements to air quality and climate by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and pollutants emitted by vehicles. These, among many other important benefits, are listed in the slide. So as shown in the table and pie chart, this project is a $652 million investment in East San Jose, made up primarily of state and local funding. The bulk of this investment is taken up by construction, about $437 million. This contract was awarded to MCM Railworks joint venture, the most responsible and lowest bidder. Next slide, please. Now, let's get into some of the various activities that are occurring. Next slide, please. As noted in the slide, construction hours are separated into day and night work. Day hours are from Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And weekend day hours, are from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Night work is permitted Monday through Sunday, so all 7 days of the week, between the hours of 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. And finally, pile driving is permitted from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Next slide, please. So for those of you who operate on a week kind of schedule, here's another way you can visualize the permitted work hours, with yellow or the lighter shade representing day work and blue or the darker shade representing night work. Pile driving is shorthanded PD and is included as well. And so it's important to, as you look at this representation, to understand that these are permitted hours. This doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be working or that activities will be happening at all times of the day or night. There might be days where you see less work and some days where you see more. Thank you. Next slide, or this slide. So to give you an idea of the size and scope of the work that needs to happen in a relatively small area, I'll briefly explain the work being completed in each image. So what you're seeing in image number 1, it's showing road widening on the expressway to make room for the construction in the median. Then image number 2 is showing the driving of piles or pile driving into the soil to support the columns. Image number 3 is showing the development of a column foundation supported with steel and rebar. Next slide. And so moving along, image number 4 shows the formation of a vertical column with its respective steel and rebar structure. And image number 5 shows a finished column that is filled with concrete. And image number 5 is also the current stage of work that we've reached so far. So this is what if you drive by the expressway right now, this is what you've seen or what you'll see. So after the columns are built, we then move on to installing falsework or scaffolding, which begins to form the aerial foundation that you're seeing in image number 6. Next slide, please. This falsework serves as the foundation for the aerial bridge, as crews then work above grade and place the necessary steel and rebar foundation, as seen in image number 7. This bridge is then filled with concrete and cured, as seen in image number 8. And when the bridge is finally ready, it's going to be ready for the installation of light rail tracks and overhead power lines, thus delivering a completed system that is ready for train testing. Next slide. And so here's an aerial simulation of how the extension will look if you were facing it and could see the foundation that holds it up. And so as you are seeing this rendition and you get an idea of how the finished product will look like, we invite you to visualize a little bit about how it's going to transform the area and the neighborhood. Next slide, please. And part of that transformation includes the art that's going to be present at both stations. And so this rendering that you're seeing here gives you an idea of what the Story Road station will look like. The artist calls this interwoven and includes quotes from local poets that are embedded in this blue tile-like mosaic structure. Next slide. And this rendering gives you an idea of what the Eastridge Station art will look like. The art at Eastridge Station will be a sculpture installation on the Transit Plaza, which draws inspiration from the various cultures present in East San Jose. Next slide. Great. Now we'll move on to traffic, which I'm sure is high of mind for many of you guys joining us tonight. Next slide, please. And so it takes a significant amount of space to build light rail, which will inconvenience traffic on Capitol Expressway. And so for the safety of the public and our construction workers, traffic control measures have been used throughout the project area. Information and warning signs have been posted to ensure safety, and rest assured that construction crews are making every effort possible to maintain access and minimize inconveniences to motorists, bicyclists, pedestrians, businesses, and neighborhoods. VTAs worked very closely with both the county and city of San Jose to navigate making sure that the contractor has enough room to build, but that there's also enough room for traffic. The project has retained three lanes of traffic in both directions, though there may be some moments when the innermost lane is needed for construction-related activities. As a friendly reminder, the public should never enter the construction zone. Give me one quick second. Okay, we are back. Great. Next slide, please. Now we're going to look at it a little bit differently. So this is an aerial view of Capitol Expressway with the main streets that cut through, highlighted as well. And so this highlighted section between Capitol and Tully of the expressway had 8 lanes. Currently, the configuration has you all with 6 lanes. And this configuration of 6 lanes within the highlighted section is going to remain once construction is complete. The carpool lanes within this section have also been eliminated, and this will also remain, and this will remain this way as well when construction is complete. Next slide, please. There will be times throughout the construction that we'll need to have access to full lane closures or full intersection closures. This will happen at Story Road and Ocala Avenue when we're installing segments of false work over the expressway. When this happens, a full traffic detour will be in effect. And so what you're seeing here is a rendering of the intersection of Story Road and Capitol Expressway, showing how the road closure could look like when we're placing the false work over the expressway. So this false work is that bridge that's connecting the 2 columns. Keep in mind that these closures will only happen overnight, and flaggers, as well as San Jose Police Department, will be present to ensure that traffic flows safely and smoothly. Next slide, please. Another closure will be necessary to install the false work needed to construct a pedestrian bridge at the Story station. And then again, reminder, although this photo looks like it's in the day, please remember that these closures are only ever going to happen at night. Next slide, please. And so due to the complex nature of the project, again, just reiterating, we're going to be having temporary road closures and lane closures throughout the project that might trigger detours. When we do trigger these closures or detours, they'll be communicated via multiple touch points, including changeable message boards, email, mail, social media, among other strategies. When you exit your home for work or business, please make sure that you give yourself extra time in case you encounter a detour. Next slide, please. And so access to properties and business will be maintained throughout the project. Any driveway closures will be coordinated with the property or business owner, and we work closely with them to mitigate any inconveniences during short-term closures. This slide's really here just to let you know that all your favorite shops along the corridor, they're open for business, and they hope that they see you there. Next slide, please. So I'm going to take a second on this slide, but because it's very important. But as with any construction zone, there is a reduced speed limit. Capitol Expressway has this reduced speed limit of 35 miles per hour. There's a possibility that the speed limit may go lower. Signage has been posted throughout the expressway, as pictured on the right, and you may have also seen signage boards throughout the project announcing the changes as you exit the freeway or enter the project area. We've also worked to adjust signal timing to make sure that we're moving traffic, that we're keeping the flow of traffic moving smoothly. On this left, you're seeing an accident that occurred on Friday, September 27th, and with reports pointing to speed as a major cause of the accident. This really just serves as a reminder to please be mindful with your speed and help us set the example for other vehicles. Next slide, please. Any bus users on tonight? Well, as part of the traffic changes, there will also be intermittent bus stop relocations or closures as needed throughout the duration of the project. As pictured here, the southbound Ocala bus rapid transit stop will need to be temporarily relocated, meaning that all of the assets will be carefully removed and stored. When that's complete, all the shelter and its art will be reassembled. Next slide, please. So we're going to move on to noise and vibration. Next slide, please. But before I get too much into it, I want to explain pile driving. So pile driving is an activity where concrete poles, commonly referred to as piles, are driven or hammered into the soil to provide foundation for our column structures. The project is going to be driving about 2,200 foundation piles into the ground, and about 200 of those piles have been driven so far. As a friendly reminder, pile driving only occurs during the daytime. And although pile driving is the most invasive activity thus far, it's important to keep in mind that there are some other temporary sounds that you might be hearing, including jackhammers and tractors, backup alarms, among other related construction noises. Next slide, please. Now that we talked a little bit about what's causing noise and vibration, let's go ahead and talk about how we're mitigating that noise and vibration. Although remember, this doesn't mean we're making it go away, we're just helping reduce it. Next slide, please. Thank you. Some strategies implemented to mitigate noise and vibration include noise curtains, like you're seeing on the right, within the construction zone to reduce noise from equipment and activities, as well as temporary sound barriers erected where needed, and which are also properly maintained to ensure that graffiti gets promptly removed. Next slide, please. We also have noise and vibration monitors along the corridor at sidewalk locations that record vibration and noise levels to ensure that they're maintained, among other strategies. As part of the construction, we're also using environmental best practices, such as Baker tanks, which collect and clean contaminated construction water prior to being released into the drainage system, as well as water trucks and street sweepers, which help compact dust and dirt, as well as collect any debris. And so these are just some of the many strategies and tools that we use to mitigate sound and vibration. Next slide, please. The project required the preparation of a contaminated soil management and disposal plan, which ensures the proper disposal of soil associated with the project. After required testing, lab results indicate that the soil is non-hazardous and suitable for off-site removal. Next slide, please. And finally, one of my favorite slides. For us at VTA, it's extremely important to keep you informed as we progress. We recognize that this is a 4-year journey of construction, and our commitment is to make sure that you have access to any of us for any questions or concerns. We target outreach to the communities located most close to the project alignment, but also to areas outside of the project alignment. We do our best to reach businesses, schools, commuters, community leaders to inform them on general project and updates. Our main focus of this is through mailed newsletters, mailed construction notices, which are translated in Spanish, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Tagalog, social media campaigns, presentations to neighborhood groups, as well as our participation in community events like back to school nights, coffee with the principal, national night out, and fall festivals. And most recently, we moved into the neighborhood. We are located at 1093 South Capitol Avenue. This is right behind World Gas. The field office features project displays and important project material and updates. It's also, if Lupita is on, but Lupita and I are stationed there on Tuesdays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. But you can always call or email if you'd like to schedule a meeting outside of these regular hours. Fantastic. So we just shared a lot of information. And so now we want to make sure that we have time for you all. So if you please drop your questions into the chat and we can go ahead and get started with a queue.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing for a moment. Actually, while we wait, and I think the group is small enough to, if you want to raise your hand, we can do that too. I want to apologize. I think we have a lot of cooks in this kitchen on this project team, and in preparation for this meeting, none of us caught a typo that slipped into the presentation at the very beginning. And so, Angel, I apologize to you. At the very beginning, when we were phasing this project, we did the sidewalk and streetscape. That was actually completed in 2012, not 2021.
Oh,
And then the transit center followed in 2015. So I apologize, we didn't catch that in our like multiple rehearsals. We'll fix that for tomorrow night when we do this again and we facilitate it in Spanish. I'm gonna go ahead and open up chat. And during the weekend, the timing of the signal lights doesn't allow for the slower speed limit. So traffic backs up a lot more than on other days at Capitol Expressway and Capitol Avenue. So then maybe that's something we can look into, the signal timing. Feel free to unmute.
I'm sorry, I was.
That's okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can. We can look into the timing of the signal over the weekend for the weekends.
Yeah, and we appreciate you telling us that, because if you don't tell us, we can't respond. We don't know. Okay, it's great that there's an outreach team to hear our concerns, but I'd like to know if it's just about listening or if there's a genuine effort to help us. I've raised the issue of noise multiple times, yet nothing has been done. I'm consistently told that you're working on it, but I haven't seen any progress. I'll go ahead and I can respond to that, Rocio. Thank you. I know the project is noisy, and we are going to be sharing some of the decibel levels with you in an email tomorrow. I know there's been a request for window replacement, and you know we have shared that this project does not provide for that. You know, we're doing our best. We could offer white noise machines. We have made those offers to folks and they have been turned down, but if that's something that we can help you with, we'd be happy to provide that. But we'll go ahead and we're going to send those noise levels that we've already measured to you tomorrow. Do I want to show? Oh, I need to stop sharing. Sure. How's that? Okay. Now I need to find my, I lost my chat now. There we go. I don't have any more questions. Okay, I think I'll have our project manager. Oh, there's two. Let me see. First, let me go. Will there be a parking area for the catwalk that will be on Capitol and Story? At this time, there is not anything planned for that. I don't understand why you can't put a noise barrier wall, can't be put up like in other areas. And then I'm going to ask you to respond and explain why we're not putting additional sound walls. This is over behind Dover at Capitol Avenue.
At Dover and Capitol Avenue, we already have an existing wall, you know, behind those properties. In addition, you know, those homes are roughly about 175 feet from the center of the expressway. So our, you know, we do in the very beginning of the project, we did the noise analysis. We did a model to see where we need these temporary noise walls. And, you know, this area was, you know, did not show up as a requirement for the noise wall.
If anyone else has questions or comments, or like I said, this group I think is small enough. If you want to just raise your hand, we're happy to call on you. It's whatever you are comfortable with.
Hi,
Okay.
this is Marion.
Hi, Marion.
I have a question. What is going to happen with if it appears that some of the existing cracks in the wall appear to widen or get larger. Will that be addressed by the project?
And just for clarification, everyone, I just want to be really open about this. The picture we showed you where the car with the car crash, first of all, that white car was also a victim in this, and that hole in the wall is behind Marion's home. And so we're trying to get some resolution and help her with that. But Ben, I'm going to let you finish the rest of that response.
Mm-hmm. So, what we have done is we have taken, the videos and photos of the existing condition of the sound walls. Although we don't think the project construction would make it any worse, but we are monitoring, and also in fact, where the pile driving happens at locations where we think the sound walls are vulnerable, we plan to have some kind of temporary support so that it doesn't get any worse, when it comes to the condition of the sound wall.
And one of the things we're experiencing with the sound walls is ownership. There seems to be some confusion between the city and the county who owns the wall. And in some cases, they're saying it's the homeowners, and we're just not finding who is the final owner. And as Marion has recently experienced, her insurance is saying that the home is not. So we're trying to work with the right folks at the city because they're the ones that were suggesting that particular section of wall needs to be replaced. But we're trying to, help navigate getting that fixed. But there are questions, and I guess maybe it's the age of the sound wall and staff turnover at agencies. I'm not sure, but we are trying to help muddle through that. Oh, go ahead, Marianne. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say I appreciate that, but I know that my neighbor has some concerns because
Okay.
He's indicated that he knows that there's crack in his wall, but he's also noticing that it appears to be getting larger. And
Okay.
so that's one of the reasons why I raised it. I don't know about the other properties along that stretch of Capitol Expressway, but I'm just curious as to if there is some intent to address that issue at the end or at some point in time.
Marion,
in terms,
is it possible to pass on our contact information to your neighbors so we can connect with them?
sure.
That would be.
Sure, I can do that.
Yeah. No, that's okay. It's when we don't know, we don't know. So we figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll call each other till we find the right one.
Okay. And I have one other question, if you don't mind, regarding your statement about the number of lanes and the carpool lanes going away. So the carpool lanes are going away only in the area where the light rail is. So they'll pick up after the light rail or after Tully Road, let's say after East Ridge or Quimby Road.
After Quimby, correct.
After Quimby, the carpool lanes will pick up.
Correction. So it's after Tully,
Tully,
we have 4 lanes.
I was off the block, I'm sorry.
So the carpool lanes will start after Tully.
After Tully, oh, okay.
Okay, and to Rocio's point, the homes here are from the 1950s, and many of our windows aren't even double pane. I lived in a place like that, I get that. Making the noise even worse, it feels like nothing can be done and our concerns don't matter. And I'm sorry, I don't want you to feel your concerns don't matter. Just, I know some people heard about window replacement on the BART project, and that was done because that was a heavy rail at grade, and that would cause noise and vibration, where light rail doesn't. And on the environmental documents, they look at all of this, and in all the studies, it shows that the noise is temporary. I know it's annoying. We don't not care. I just, and we have offered folks who work from home that are having a hard time with the noise we have offered to sponsor what are the like the office, the remote office, that we would cover that. And that is still on the table. But as far as home improvements, this project is not going to provide that.
I'm not understanding how, if we choose to work remote, it's because we enjoy working in our home, and it's an inconvenience for us to want to take up a remote office when we clearly have offices with our work. I have my home office for a reason, and I'm not asking you guys to do any improvements to my home. I'm trying to understand, why can't you just put up a wall? It's not going to improve my home. It's not doing anything to my home. And I understand that you guys keep saying no one's being affected, but we keep telling you our concerns. You guys don't live in this area. You guys don't know. You don't see it. You don't deal with it. So of course it's not a concern for you guys, but it's a concern for us.
Ben, you're on mute, or you're not coming through. I see you trying to respond.
So, yeah, I was gonna mention that, you know, in the construction corridor, we have many walls, obviously. You know, the locations where, you know, when we did the noise modeling, you know, those areas near Doverway and those areas, you know, the noise levels, you know, were less, you know, for during construction, I'm talking about, right? The construction noise level going past the sound walls were less. So it did not warrant temporary noise walls to be built, you know, in that area. So, you know, we think, and also I want to mention, add to what Kathleen was mentioning earlier. You know, some of the homes that you know, had double pane windows are, you know, on BART, and in fact, even on the light rail to the north, they were put in, but those are for permanent, you know, noise mitigation. You know, construction noise is considered temporary, and you know, we don't do mitigation, you know, with windows. So, like I said, you know, in this case, you know, it was not an easy decision. In the very beginning, you know, we do an engineering model for the whole section to see, you know, what kind of impacts do these residences have, right? Whether it's vibration or noise, and then, you know, we determine, you know, there is a you know, FDA's, you know, guidance on what the noise levels will be. And based on that, you know, we model this, you know, temporary noise walls. So that's why you see in certain sections we have temporary noise walls, and certain sections we don't, because there's already an existing noise wall, you know.
I guess what I'm understanding from this is you guys already did your study, so whatever our concerns are, whatever we're feeling, it just kind of doesn't matter. That's clearly what you guys are saying, because there's nothing you guys can do, and you guys just keep referring to the studies.
I am sorry. I am sorry that we can't give the answers that people want sometimes. This is, you know, it's all you know, we can do is inform on what it is. We have tried, we've made offers, and I understand if you don't want, I get working from home. I prefer it as well. But it is, you know, like we've explained that, you know, we have advised the community this project was coming. We've had so much community come out to make sure this project happens. And we've been clear all along that to make this project, there's going to be noise, there's going to be traffic. At the end of the day, there will be light rail. And I am sorry, I know this is hard. And I know it's frustrating, and I hear it in your voice, Rocio. I don't know that there's anything else we can do, that we are allowed to do at this point.
I guess to me, it's fine. It's whatever. I mean, we purchased a home, so we didn't know about the project, but we would have definitely been against it. I don't understand why we need to extend the BTA when there's clearly that bus station right there. But I just feel like you guys should be more transparent and make it clear that your concerns will be heard, but you guys might not be doing anything about it, because you guys are not being transparent. You guys are making it seem like you care for what the community has to say, but then we're being dismissed. It's clearly your hands are tied, so we are definitely being dismissed. and it's kind of wasteful. I spent like an hour here to, you know, bring up my concerns. I keep emailing you guys, and basically what I'm being told is nothing's gonna get done, so just stop trying. So just, I'm just saying it's fine. Just please be more transparent with the community, because you guys are definitely not doing that.
Okay. Well, to Rosia's point, it has been almost an hour, so I don't want to hold anyone else up. Oh goodness, can somebody turn on the lights again? If there are any other questions or if something comes up later, I'm going to share my screen again because we do have contact information up here. Daniel, I'm going to let you take over. Oh, I'm sorry, did it not hit? There we go. There we go.
Okay. Thank you. And so before we go, the project webpage, vta.org/eastchurchsabart, provides a running list of notices, links to recorded meetings, and environmental documents. We highly encourage you to visit the page. You can subscribe to updates, and that's a good way to stay up to date with everything we're doing. Next slide, please.
Oops. My goodness, sorry, my thumb is all over the place. Yeah.
Great. And so finally, thank you all for joining us this evening. Before you see all of our contact information, our phone number, our email, and the hours and location of our outreach office that you can visit us, as well as the website. So if you want to take a screenshot, take a photo, save the number, please, you can go ahead and do that right now. But that essentially concludes the meeting. Unless Kathleen, you want to stick around a little bit more.
Well, we'll end the meeting unless anybody has. All right, with that, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to attend tonight, and we wish you a good evening.